Hi guys, so today's menu will be meatloaf accompanied with some shaved Brussels sprouts with bacon. So the ingredients we will need is I have 1.5 pounds of ground beef. You can get whichever one you like. I like the 80/20 so that it has a little bit of fat in it and it's pretty lean. We're gonna need, I have 2 celery stalks, a handful of baby carrots. If you have regular carrots, you can use 1 carrot depending on the size of it. You might need 2. We will need 1 egg for binding, some panko for binding the meatloaf as well, and I have 1/4 of an onion. As always, salt and pepper to taste. For the Brussels sprouts, very simple. Brussels sprouts, bacon. We will get to those later. Okay, we're gonna start with the dicing. We are gonna dice, we're not slicing here. You do wanna take off the ends of the celery sticks. Make sure you take out whatever's not usable. These are not, it's not my freshest celery, so I'm not gonna use the ends of them. They're pretty wilted. And we're gonna chop off the ends as well, because those are kind of tough. So what you wanna do is you wanna take your celery stick and you're gonna slice it down the middle. And depending on how wide it is, you might need to slice it more than once. So once you have it sliced, I'm gonna do my other celery stalk as well. This one's a little bigger. And then we're just gonna dice it. I don't like big rough chops. This is gonna be a little more on the finer side. Okay, so once you have diced your celery, you're gonna do the same thing with your carrots. Whether it's baby carrots or regular sized carrots, just make sure you're dicing them to a small dice. Alright, we got the carrots and celery diced. We're gonna go in with the onion. And we're gonna slice.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Sorry, apparently my phone wants to know what I'm doing too. Actually, my watch. It wants to learn how to make meatloaf as well. Sorry about that, guys. So we're just gonna finely slice and dice our onion. And, you know, just do your best. You don't have to make it too small. If you like bigger chunks, then go for bigger chunks. I prefer smaller dices. And we're all good. So what we're gonna do after our onion and celery and carrot has been diced, we're gonna start sauteing. Okay, in a pan, we're gonna put some vegetable oil to heat on medium-high heat. And you just want a little splash. We're gonna saute the onions, the carrots, and the celery. We're gonna sweat them down. We're not gonna cook them 100% through, but we're just gonna sweat them down. So you always wanna start with the onions and then go from there. Okay. Take your onions and you put them in the pan. You hear that sizzle? Alright, the onions have been sauteing for about a minute, which is perfect. Like I said, we're not going to cook them all the way through. We're just going to sweat them down. And then we're going to take my little bench scraper here, and we're going to toss in all of the carrots and the celery. And we're gonna saute it as well, just to sweat it down a little, start to make them a little softer and translucent. I am not adding any seasoning to them because we will be seasoning our meat instead. And since it's all going in the meat, no additional seasoning is needed at this point. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes since I tossed in the carrots and the celery, and we want to get them to this point. We're not going to overcook them. We're not going to make them super soft because then they're going to disappear in our meatloaf. At this point, I'm going to turn off my stove and I'm going to let them cool for a minute before I toss them in with the meat. All right, our veggies have cooled. We're going to put them in our bowl with our ground beef. And you're going to get your hands dirty with this because that's the whole reason why we were cooling these. We don't want to burn ourselves while we get our hands in there and we start mixing. Okay, to that we're going to add a 1/4 cup of panko. You can use breadcrumbs if you like. It's up to you which ones you want to use. I like panko and it's gluten-free, so this is a gluten-free recipe. You can make it with regular stuff. Everything I make is gluten-free. So these are great recipes for anybody with allergies. We're also going to add our egg in there to bind it. All right. So we've added all of our ingredients. I've also added a teaspoon of salt and I've added 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. I have a garlic, black pepper, and salt mixture, but I don't like garlic in my meatloaf. But if you do, by all means, you can add 2 tablespoons of that mix like that. And this was a mix I made myself. It was a cup of garlic salt, 2 cups of a cup of garlic, 2 cups of salt, and a cup of pepper. And you just mix it all together. All right, once you've added, it's time to mix it all in. We're gonna, like I said, you're gonna get your hands dirty. You just wanna combine it well. You wanna make sure that everything is mixed together before we put it in the oven to bake. All right, once you have your meat all mixed up, we're gonna place it in a baking sheet. You can put a baking rack on top of it. I don't have a rack, so I'm just gonna use what I have, and I put a piece of foil on top. On that foil, I'm gonna take my cooking spray oil, and I'm gonna just spray the bottom so that the meat doesn't stick. And once you have done that, we're just gonna transfer the meat mixture to the bowl. Not the bowl, from the bowl to the pan, and you're just pretty much gonna shape it like a loaf, meat loaf. How do you guys like my little Christmas decor in the kitchen? My little owls in the back. They're just hanging out, keeping me company today. All right. Looks like our meat. Once your meat is shaped like a loaf, I'm gonna use my little convection oven over here. I don't want to use the big one in the back. We're gonna heat our oven. We're gonna put this to bake and we're gonna turn it on. We're gonna preheat it to 450 degrees. So 450. Okay, my little oven is preheated. If you're doing this in the regular oven, same thing. Put it in the preheat the oven 450 degrees before you put it to cook. We're gonna leave the meatloaf in the oven for about 30 minutes and then we will check the internal temperature. It should be at 160 degrees before we take it out. All right, while our meatloaf is cooking, we're gonna prep our side dish. I'm also gonna have mashed potatoes, but that's gonna be lacy mashed potatoes, the powdered stuff. I'm just gonna doctor them up a little bit. But in the meantime, we're gonna slice our Brussels sprouts. You can cook them whole, but I want to try shaved Brussels sprouts. And we're going to dice our bacon and we're going to turn on our stove at medium-high heat. We want to get this cast iron skillet going and getting it nice and hot. If you don't have a cast iron, you can also do it on a regular pan. Just make sure it's deep enough for you to stir and once you throw the Brussels sprouts in there. Okay, I'm gonna start slicing my bacon. I have about 9 strips of bacon here. You can slice them as thick as you want, as thin as you want. I like a little bit of chunks in there. So I'm gonna make them about a 1/2 inch wide. So this is how big you want them, or I want them. It depends on how big you want yours. You can make them smaller, you can make them bigger. Just remember, once you cook them down, they're gonna cook down. Okay, so bacon is all sliced up. Let me wash my knife in the meantime and my hands. Alright, this feels a little hot. It's still not super hot. We're not gonna get a sizzle. Oh, we got a sizzle. About that. Alright, you just want to stir it every so often. Obviously, we don't want to burn our bacon. We want to get it nice and toasty. I like it when it has a little bit of a crunch to it. And break up the pieces of bacon that were stuck together. While our bacon is cooking, we're going to take our Brussels sprouts and we're going to slice them. You're going to cut off this end. And we're going to discard that. And then we're just going to slice them like if you were slicing a cabbage, you know. They're baby cabbages. And you want them, julienne, you want them in strips. That's why they're called shaved Brussels sprouts. You can also use a food processor, but I don't want to break out the food processor today, you guys. We're going to do this to all of our Brussels sprouts, right? So BRB. The bacon is coming along. We're going to keep browning it. We want it to get to that color. So I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. I had lowered it while I was slicing and dicing away over here. So all the Brussels sprouts are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cooking the bacon. Like I said, I want to get it to this color brown right here, you know? Kind of blends in with my spoon, but like that color. And once it's fully cooked, what we're going to do is we're going to take the bacon out and put it on a little bowl with a napkin on it because I want to take the excess fat off of the bacon. But we're going to leave the bacon fat in the pan, and that's where we're going to cook our Brussels sprouts in. Alright, it looks like our bacon is just about done. I'm going to take it out now because I do not want to burn it. So I'm going to take it out of my pan and I'm going to put it on my bowl with the napkin on it to catch the excess oils from the actual bacon. While, ooh, runaway bacon. Maybe get it a little bit closer. That was a taste test. Oh man, it's so good. But then again, when isn't bacon good, right? Alright, our bacon is out. So now I'm gonna, in the same pan, I'm just gonna toss in the Brussels sprouts. It's sizzling that way because there was water in the bowl. I washed the Brussels sprouts before I started slicing them. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start, I'm gonna keep stirring them until they cook down. We will be adding seasoning in a little bit, but I want to make sure that they start wilting before we add any seasoning to it because they will release some water from them. And I left some sliced that way and just to have a little bit more texture in it. So we will let them wilt down and we will come back in a couple minutes. Alright, I've been stirring for about a minute or so, so I'm going to go in with my salt. I'm going to add some seasoning to it. The salt is going to be salt to taste. It's up to you how much salt you want to add. I use pink Himalayan salt because I like how it makes my food taste, and it is a little healthier than regular white salt. So I'm going to do the same thing with my pepper. Just going to add a pinch of pepper in there, maybe a little bit more, and we're going to stir. And you see how quickly this wilted down already, and see there's no oil in it. I didn't add any additional oil to it. All that shine you see on them is from the bacon fat, which is actually not bad for you. If you actually read keto books, it will tell you bacon fat is better than using regular oil. Not 100% sure on that, but the keto book said it. The Brussels sprouts have been cooking for about 5 minutes. If you cook them whole or halved, it's going to take about 10-15 minutes for them to turn this beautiful green color. Okay, so now that they've been in there for about 5 minutes, I'm actually going to add a splash of balsamic vinegar. It's just going to make the flavor of Alright, time to check the meatloaf. It's been 30 minutes. Look at all that sizzle. So I'm going to take my thermometer and I'm going to insert it into the middle of the meatloaf at an angle. And I'm looking for 160-degree temperature. So we're at 124, 130, 129. It looks so good. It smells really good. Okay, it looks like we're only at 138. I'm gonna leave it in here for another 10 minutes and we will come back in 10 minutes and check it again. Alright, checking the temperature once again. It looks like we're almost there. There we are. So the meatloaf is ready. We're gonna turn off the oven. We're gonna take it out. Slowly, careful, don't burn yourselves, guys. And we're gonna let it rest. I'm gonna transfer it over to my cutting board, and we're just gonna let it rest for about 10 minutes before we cut into it. We don't want to cut into it right away because the juices will come out and it will dry out your meatloaf. All right, meatloaf's been resting. We're gonna slice it. Oh, it looks so good, you guys. I hope you can see it very well. You can slice it as thin or thick as you like. It came out really good. Let me show you guys. Look at that. It's still nice and juicy. It didn't dry out and it's cooked all the way. So we're gonna go ahead and serve this. On my plate here, I have my Brussels sprouts and I have my lacy mashed. Well, there it is, guys. Meatloaf, shaved Brussels sprouts with bacon, and lacy mashed potatoes. So lacy mashed potatoes, I call them that because they're the instant mashed potatoes. I found them in individual portion size, and all I did was I added fresh chives, the little green stuff on the top, and a little bit more butter. Well, butter because it doesn't have butter when you're making it the instant way. But there it is.